Hello, my friends. Welcome to Together Run 12. I am excited today. You're going to be joining me from somewhere different. Would love to hear what you thought of the run last week with David. So be sure to give some feedback on that. But for now, I'm going to pass it back over to myself and we'll begin Together Run 12. Good morning, friends. Coming to you from Big Rapids, Michigan, which is where I spent 5 years of my life. Have come back here for the first time in 3 years. Potentially the last time I come back here. And this is just quite a special place and a place full of memories. So I thought it would be really cool to have you come with me and experience this. And just could talk about some memories while I'm running with you. So we'll do the regular check-ins, but I just thought this would be like me sharing with a friend about some experiences and special places to me. And today I'll do a 30, 45 and 60-minute option and a few strides. And yeah, so I'm not going to be like David and do a warm-up. I'm going to assume you've already done one. Or if I'm honest, I haven't done one. And I've been very lazy and still following it. So don't be like me. But I'm being honest with you there. Do David's warm-up or do a warm-up. Okay, are we ready to begin? In 3, 2, and 1. Off we go. So I want to do the scan right away. Then I can just get into telling you about memories. So let's start with the scan down. So you're gonna, if you haven't done one of these before, not yet, I'll tell you when to start. We're gonna start from scanning the top of our heads all the way down through our bodies, checking in on areas. I'll give you suggestions for areas to pay attention to, and see how they feel. It's not supposed to be, this feels good, this feels bad, but just like noticing how things are feeling. And then we'll check in again at the end or a few points throughout this run and you can see if there's a difference. So first, let's begin with, start with the top of your head, scanning down through your eyes, your ears, into your jaw. Make sure your eyes and your jaw are both relaxed. If you feel some tightness, just loosen them up now. Just pay attention that you did hold some tightness there until I said that. And then into the shoulders, into the upper arms, into your lower arms and your hands. Give your hands a bit of a shake if you feel some tightness there. And going back into your torso, scanning down, going into your stomach, into your hips, pelvis, glutes, hamstrings and quads. How's everything feeling? And then moving into your lower legs, your knees, your shins and calves, going into your ankle, and finally into your toes. Now looking back on that, what's the overall sense you're getting? I'm definitely feeling a bit stiff. We did an 8-hour drive yesterday, so that's not surprising. Also didn't run. We left at 4 a.m. So I'm feeling a bit stiff, but mostly loosening as I go. And yeah, I just say tight, stiff today. Need a bit of oiling, which you know what would have helped? Doing a warm-up. There's one thing I'm trying to work on, not succeeding. Okay, and then how are you feeling mentally? Just take a few seconds right now, as we always do, if I were to sit down and ask you, how are you? And mean it. you know we weren't in a rush, you could really answer the question, what would you say? For me, I'd say quite a lot of emotions. There's a lot of nostalgia and just remembering, just seeing something with different eyes. So maybe some guilt in there of like not appreciating this place while I was here. But also, you know, gratitude to be around family and just appreciation for such a beautiful morning today. So yeah, I'd say a kinds of mixture of things right now. So before we go on to the census check-in, I think actually I want to tell you about a few things first. So I'm coming up to some fields where we used to do what we called workouts, or sessions as we'd say in England, for cross country. So yeah, this is where I went to university. Went to Ferris State University in Michigan, and we used to do, I'm running by these soccer fields where we used to do like 600s and 400s and 200s in the cross country season. Primarily 600s is what I remember, or 1k, 1,000 meters. And I remember one of my first memories coming in to the university being doing some workouts down there and really wanting to prove myself, pushing myself really hard just to keep up with the others. Even though I was pretty out of shape, I remember being determined that I needed to be near the front, and just these workouts kind of being very intense and kind of being a bit of a shock to the system, to just waking myself back up to what hard training was, which I hadn't done in a long time. So, and then I remember seeing myself getting fitter as I built up my fitness. I could feel it coming, and then going over the next few years and getting faster and faster, doing these 20 of the paces for things that I used to only be able to do 5, seeing that improvement and feeling good. And there's also some negative stuff that is in my mind of where one of the other girl, or the group of girls, as I became faster, I'd cut my recovery short so I could get further and further ahead because I was insecure and liked being the top dog. And part of that was immaturity. It's coming up on 10 years since I left the school in a year's time, but I'd like to think I've matured a lot in that 10 to 15 years since I first arrived here. And so think about that and how silly that was, but also not looking at myself as dumb or stupid, just knowing that's part of the growing process. And I had to do that to become the runner I am. So now I am actually below those fields, running along this beautiful trail. My favourite part of one of my favourite places to run along here. You might have heard there is a river nearby. To keep going in and out of it, and it's perfect running weather. But I remember many runs coming through here, and again that memory is coming through of runs where we were on recovery runs, and I would run with them, the group, for about a mile, and then be like, okay, I'm going ahead, as if my recovery pace needed to be that much faster than everyone else, which it did not. And actually, that's one of the main reasons I now am really into making people run whatever pace and not looking at the watch, because I know what I was doing. And even though I was doing 2 hard workouts a week and a long run, I felt like their 7:30 pace or 8-minute pace recovery run wasn't fast enough for me. And what I deemed acceptable was 7:10 per mile, which, it obviously depends on, an Olympian, maybe that's a recovery pace. For me, that was definitely not a recovery pace. I thought it was, and it was fast enough to push the other girls to say, I can justify going ahead here, but there's no way that was good for me. And I know it doesn't, because I ended up injured. And it also wasn't good for me, but it wasn't good for them either, because there's me, the older girl, the star one on the team. If I was running my recovery paces at 7:10, well, then they felt they needed to be, like 7:30, 7:45. And for most, if not all of them, that was too fast. That should have been my pace or even slower to run on recovery days. So those memories do come to mind. And now I'm looking at the river next to me. I actually don't know the name of this. I think it's a Muskegon, but it might not be. And thinking about here, quite a common thing to do was to go what they're called tubing, where you float down the river on a tube. I didn't do it that many times. It's more of a big, as you can imagine, college drinking thing. And so I wasn't into that. I was too into my training. And so I didn't like being in an uncomfortable situation where everyone was drinking. So I quite often didn't go. But I did go at least a dozen times, and I enjoyed it. It's nice to be back on this path where I used to run so much and just appreciate this in a way I hadn't before. Steve has always said that he feels this is the perfect place to run in the summer, and I always was like, I don't know. I have to kind of agree with him. We've been in a few places now, and this is a pretty cool place to be in the summer. I'm going by some geese right now, which is, in a minute, definitely bringing back memories. This geese, probably not the same generation. This geese's grandparents chased me, hissed at me many a time, and they're hissing at me now. Ooh, freaky. Yep, oh god, there's loads of them. They're always in this spot as well. Okay, they're definitely going to hiss at me. Kind of gets my heart rate up. Bit scary. I always feel like they're going to attack me. There's a little baby one there, so just quietly going by, guys. Good. So I got one major hiss. Now I'm running by a parking lot that I used to park at in the mornings in the summer, where we would meet and run. This was the best spot to be. Although now I think about it, like where I lived most of the time really wasn't that far away from here. But looking back on those decisions, you can only smile, right? Okay, should we do the check in with our senses? And I'll bring back some more memory stuff. Okay, so let's begin with a nice deep breath. What do you smell? I smell almost like a mapley smell. It's a very familiar smell to me. What do you taste? Taste toothpaste, as I usually do. What do you hear? If you haven't done this before, take your headphones out for just a minute. Take them off your ears. Just listen to what you hear. Or if you're not comfortable doing that, you can listen to my surroundings and try and see what you hear beyond that. Let's just take a few moments to do that. For me, the water rushing, heard the bridge, sound of the bridge crossing it, that echoing sound, heard so many times in my life, hundreds, probably thousands of times. Hear the birds, hear the wind rushing past my ears, and I hear some it's almost like a crackling sound that you hear in the morning. I think it's like condensation moving around or dripping or something. What did you hear? Okay, and let's do touch. What do you feel? Try and do it in somewhat of an order of what comes into your awareness. What do you notice? Do it for yourself for a few seconds, and then I'll come in and tell you some things I feel. Keep going, keep picking up on things you feel in your body. Okay, for me, I feel the sweat around my eyes, feel my sunglasses resting on my nose, and there's a sweat drop right next to where the glasses are. Feel my arms, a little bit of a breeze on my upper arms. Feel my shorts, top of my legs. Feel my feet, my shoes. Feel my hand, my fingers touching my palm of my hand. Feel the phone I'm holding, just digging into my other hand a little bit. Those are some major ones I feel. And finally, what do you see? I'm going to just tell you, something is different here. Cannot figure out what it is, but this definitely looks different. Yeah, weird. Something's different. All right, continuing on. Stay focused, Tina. What do you see? Look to your left. Look down. Look up. Try and notice something you haven't before. Yes, even you, Richard, if you're in the same spot of your run you normally are. What do you notice? Go to a diagonal on that same side. What do you see? Anything different? And go forward, look forward. What do you see there? Look all around. Don't jump around, but just see if you can hone in on specific things. get enough detail to mark it in your brain and then move to the next thing. What do you see? Move to your left, diagonal. What do you see there? Make sure you're honing in, really picking the detail in a few things before you move on to the next. And then to the right. Look up, down. What do you see there? I see so many things. They're just memories to me. It's really strange. Do you have anywhere like that? Think about it for a minute. Anywhere for you that is just so full of memories that maybe isn't where you're from, or maybe it is, but somewhere you either spent a good chunk of your life or you spent a very maybe intense period of your life to really take in those details and had a lasting impact on you. For me, this area definitely did. Changed my life in more ways than I can count. Definitely wouldn't be doing this with you right now had this opportunity to go to Ferris not come up. I wouldn't be married to Steve, wouldn't have my 2 little girls. I mean, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. I have said many times, very much a believer in no regrets, things happening for a reason, trusting and trying not to, look at how else things could have been. Because every tiny little thing we do has an impact. But it is crazy to think how much something can change you. And just the growth I did as a human here. The lessons I learned, the way it set me up. I mean, there's so many little things that could have affected life in many ways. So just take a moment for you. Think about what that place means to you. Morning. So for me, I did so many training runs out here, but not just when I was fit and healthy and running well. I also did some where I was not doing well. I have memories here, running along this part, recovering from injuries. Yep, those injuries I just mentioned a little while ago when I was just pushing my easy runs too fast and kept getting injured. And that was all because I wasn't trusting myself to tell me what the right speed was to run my recovery runs. I genuinely believe that was a big reason. But yeah, so I would come here when I had like 5 by 1 minute of running, or when my shins were starting to play up, and I would come here and run on the grassy section, which I'm kind of running past right now. Maybe we'll go through it actually, why not? That grassy section, just because it was soft, it wasn't very long, but I remember like agonizing over, could I feel it, could I not? Was the feel turning into pain? And just thinking that, often we want those recovery runs to be, those return to running runs be so special and so appreciative of, I'm back out here. But then quite often they end up being like a stress, well, at least for me, a stress run, because you can't enjoy it or relax. You're just obsessing over whether it's still there. Or at least that's the way I used to be. So now I'm running on that grassy path I mentioned, surrounded by greenery all over the top to my sides. There's trees and bushes and branches. You can hear all kinds of wildlife. And that's when I used to run here on my returns to running. I wasn't paying attention to that. Should have been. Again, I don't wish I did, because it's a lesson learned, but it's sad, you know. Instead, I was just, I guess I was in the moment, right? Being present with my body, just swirling in a cloud of anxiety, you know. We all know that, right? Remember, the team would rarely come through here. For me, this is definitely associated with injuries and stress. So we are now about 5 minutes away from 30-minute group checking out. So just want to take a moment to thank Beam for sponsoring this. Been telling you about Beam, and by you purchasing Beam when you've done this and tried it and loved it, by the way. Many of you have tried when you've gone get your Elevate hydration that I've been talking about. You've also gone to get some of the Dream, Beam Dream CBD sleep aid, and I know you found that helpful. So that's one thing that you can go get. But I'm loving the hydration, the Perform, Recovery and Balance hydration Elevate packs. I love putting them in my drinks. I brought them with me here to Michigan so that I can have them. Rarely a day goes by where I don't have one. The Performance one comes in watermelon, which I've talked about. Watermelon's not my favourite flavour, but somehow the Beam team, Beam is such a good word, rhymes with a lot. The Beam team has come up with a flavour of watermelon that I really, really like. And so I drink that on my trail runs, my long runs, my races, before my races. And I love the Recovery. It's like a lemon flavour. Come back and have that after my runs. And then the Balance one is a berry flavour. You can get either just the one type, or you can get a pack with all three. So the reason I talk about Beam is because me being able to do these together runs is supported by Beam and the other brands that I work with on these. Without the brands I work with, I wouldn't be able to do what I do. It's part of my livelihood. So not only are you trying something that I strongly recommend, but you are also supporting me when you use code TINA at beamtlc.com when you go check it out. So that's beamtlc.com. Use code TINA. I will put a link in the podcast so you can go get it there. And I'll remind you as we check out here at the end. So I'm now going back the other way, back towards the start of the little grassy loop, woodland loop, which is so beautiful, by the way. It's just such a cool little loop. It's not long, but it's a really cool little path they've crossed out, cut out. Yeah. And then we're going to go do a few strides in a few minutes. I want to have the 30-minute group, and all of us actually, take the next minute to do a full body scan and check in with how you're feeling physically and emotionally. How are you doing compared to when we started this run, especially as we did it so early on. Just do that right now. feels like forever when when I'm waiting for this. But what did you find in your body scan? For me, I noticed I'm feeling a lot looser, but definitely feeling a bit lethargic and heavy overall. Just feel tired as expected after 8 hours of sitting, and emotionally feeling very much the same feelings at the beginning, that nostalgia, gratitude, a little bit of sadness for not making the most of it. But I feel that same way with where I'm from in England. St Albans I really took for granted, and I wonder if it's you ever take where you live for what it is until you know, the old, you don't know what you've got till it's gone, right? Okay, 30-minute group. Let's slow to a walk. If you're running 45 or 60, you can keep going. And we're going to do a few strides in a few minutes. We'll give you just a moment to get your breath back. We're going to do 2 strides. So if this is the first together run you've done, what a stride is basically means picking up. You're going to start running or continue running and run at about 80% of what is your max, like an all-out sprint. That said, if you're only going to run about 10 seconds, and this isn't supposed to be a big serious thing you have to get ready for. You are just like essentially stretching out the legs and giving your body a bit of a change of pace, like a shake up. But I don't want that to be that you stride out. You're not supposed to be taking big long steps. You're just supposed to be actually moving your legs faster. So taking more steps, increasing your cadence. And with that, you will move forward faster and do a stride. So, are we ready? In 3, 2, 1. And slow it down, right to a jog. If you're going to continue running, we're in the 30-minute group. Take a walk. Just take a moment to get our breath back. Oh, I have a stitch. Not fun. And I should say, if you're going up or down a hill, it doesn't really matter. If you have the option, I would always choose to go up over down, even though down feels good. That's where you are at risk, especially if you're not used to this, of overextending your body, giving it a ton of impact that you can pay the price for later. I mean, a few 10 seconds probably won't make a difference, but still, I would probably pick uphill rather than down. Right, you ready? We're going to go again. In 3, 2, and 1. And slow to a walk or jog. And then if you're in the 45 or beyond, just keep running slowly. When you feel ready, transition back into more of a running pace. But it's okay to jog for a few seconds to get your breathing back under control. And if you are in the 30-minute group, thank you for joining me. I appreciate you. Go check out Beam TLC. Go use code TINA. Get yourself 15% off an order, 20% off a subscription. And yeah, thank you so much. I'll see you next Monday for another run. And if you want to tune in with the 45 or even the 60-minute group and continue with a walk or something, we'd love to have you, right? So actually, last week we had a together run with David. Keep giving me the feedback on that. Can we have David do more? Maybe we could have other people do them. I mean, maybe that would be a cool thing to do with the community. I'm actually thinking of a way we can take this maybe off my podcast feed and put it on something else. I mean, if I had $20,000 to make an app, I'd probably do that. Except I don't. So I'm trying to think of another way. I did pitch it to 10% Happier. They declined. But Jeff Warren, who's a previous podcast guest and one of the top meditators on 10% Happier, said they turned his idea down too. So I'm not too upset about it. Still a rejection though, it stings, right? Morning. And yeah, okay, so let's continue on with memory logs. So this point where I'm at now is kind of the turn around. I'm not turning around, I'm gonna turn to the right, back to where I came from, on a real trail, flat, fast, endless. I mean, obviously it does have an end, but feels endless. I've done many workouts on it, including a lot when I was running as a marathoner. I'd come back here for a few weeks at a time. Steve and I would come and he would bike along next to me. Done lots of long runs, finishing rolling along this rail trail. This also has a ton of memories, as do the trails that run alongside it. I don't have enough miles right now to go in there, but there's actually quite a lot of trails next to this river walk, and I went in it so few times. It's just so sad. Actually, this is such a beautiful spot. I'm going to take a picture. I want you to do the same wherever you are. I'm going to see if I can do this. Might pause my recording, but we'll just start again if that's the case. So take a picture. Oh my god, I see a deer. This is perfect. Take a picture right now. Where are you? I want to see. Did pause my recording, but now we know. And restarted it. Hopefully you didn't tell the difference, as Jeremy is good at what he does. Yeah, I just want to tell you what I see here. I see these beautiful long, I don't know what kind of trees they are, really tall trees, probably 100 feet in the air on both sides. I can see probably a mile down the rail trail one way, see probably half mile, and then it curves down the other way. You can see those trails to my side. Hear the sun coming up. Hear that, like crackling sound I mentioned. Just take a moment, take the recording off, take those headphones off, and just pause for a minute. Look at what you can admire where you live. Doesn't matter if you're surrounded by city or whatever. Just take a moment. Let's just stop and just be still. Feel the sweat going down your face, whatever. Let's just stop. Okay, I'm ready to go again. And off we go. If you're coming back in, well, I'd already started again. Well done you for taking even more advantage of that time. And it's not that anything should be good or bad. It's not, I hear traffic, that's not good. I feel hot air, that's not good. Think about it, we're going to try and look at that moment in a neutral way, not a judging way. any way or the one way or the other. Sometimes, like that moment there, took a beautiful moment, a beautiful scene to make us stop. But it doesn't make it any better than any other moment. You can just be in it, you know.
Good job.
Morning. Well, they were being noisy, so I should have answered that guy question, shouldn't I? How are you? But as you know, I don't like it when it's in passing. I like it when it's meaningful. But yeah, I think so often we wait for, those beautiful moments to smack us in the face. Like when you're younger or more immature, it has to be the most beautiful thing, like the top of a mountain or an absolutely like stunning scene. And as you get more mature, you start to notice it for more simple things, like this path, for example, that I couldn't take advantage of when I was younger. But I think sometimes, as I have learned in my meditation and as David talked about, it doesn't have to be about judging something. Sometimes we can just feel the feelings and notice what they feel like, notice what they do to our body, rather than, thinking, well, my location's not good enough, my scene's not good enough. And when I had you take that picture, I'm not judging your background. In fact, when you send it to me, yes, I look at your background, and if you do have a stunning background, that's amazing. But honestly, what I spend the most time doing is looking at your face, analysing you, and not in a judging what you look like or your body parts way, but literally trying to imagine what it would be like to run together. Just trying to feel as if we did just go for a run together, and trying to take your face into my memories so that I can imagine us as friends. So I know some of you have been hesitant. Some of you have sent me over direct message, and that's absolutely fine. I totally understand the not wanting to share on the internet thing and the self-criticism we have on ourselves, especially when we take a selfie. And actually, in fact, when a few weeks ago, months ago, one of you asked me to take a together run picture with the dead cat, the mic thing. And I took one, and I haven't shared it because I look at it and my eyes go straight to my forehead. I'm like, God, my forehead is big. And often, most of the time now, I'd say I don't really care. I'm at peace with my body and my face. But for some reason, in that photo, I don't want to put it online. So I haven't. So I get it. But just as you would tell me about that photo, I'm not looking at the picture of you to judge you. I'm looking at it so that I can picture you and I running together. And I love that idea. And that, I think, is what makes these runs so special. Or like last week with David. That was so cool for me to picture myself running with David. And I totally get what many of you have said about the footsteps thing. I kept finding myself trying to align my footsteps with David's. So it is a pretty special thing we've got going on here. And so adding the element of a photo just makes it so much clearer and easier for me to imagine. So you don't have to share it on social, although I love when you do, but send it to me at least, because I really like to see. And also what you're seeing. It doesn't have to be glamorous. I mean, when I run from my home most days, I'm running around neighbourhoods. And, you can see enough houses for a lifetime to not be exciting, but it's the person in front of it, and it's the you that I want to get to know. So we just did another sense check, like a short one, so we won't do another one of those before this. But what I do want you to do is take the next minute when I tell you, and just, as we've done before, try and be in this moment, not getting distracted, thinking about something I've said, just bringing yourself back to the feeling of running and imagining we're running together. Like, just feeling it, okay? Being in this experience of running right now. So this could be one of those natural breaks that there is in the conversation, where it's just quiet for a moment and you're just in it, okay? And if you find yourself getting distracted, just gently nudge yourself back. Don't get angry. Don't be pissed at yourself for getting distracted, because we all will. But just nudge yourself back. Okay? Let's do it. Lost your trail of thought, get right back to running. How does it feel? All right, great job, friends. Okay, so 45-minute group. You may slow to a walk, and we'll take a few strides in just a minute. If you're in the 60-minute group, you can keep running. We'll do the strides in a minute. If you are in the 60-minute group, can you please let me know that you do this? Because I want to know the future, whether, or actually, if you're in the 45-minute too, let me know what time you do, so that I can start piecing together when the natural breaks are, whether there is a point in me doing 60, or if I'm, carrying the microphone for no reason, which in itself is fine. I don't mind. All right, we're going to do some strides, just 2, and again, we're not trying to sprint. We're not trying to extend out. We're just picking up the pace. In 3, 2, 1. And slow to a walk or a jog. Take another little bit of recovery, and we'll go do the final one, and then 45-minute, be on your way. By the way, with these, if you are running, or not, I suppose, you're not supposed to be completely recovered for these. You want to be still breathing a little bit hard, maybe a little bit more than you would be if you were just doing a regular run and coming to a walk. Okay, ready? We're going to go again in 3, 2, and 1. Last one. And so do a walk or a jog. Great job. 45-minute friends. Go to beamtlc.com, use code Tina. Or if you can't do that, if you're not in the US or you just can't use another product, you know what would really help me out? Going to leave a rating and review on iTunes. Even if you've already left one in the past, just updating those really gives me a helping hand. So going to iTunes or Spotify or wherever you listen, leaving a review is so helpful. So if you could do that, that would be much appreciated. Thank you. All right, 60-minute friends. Make sure when you finish this run, you let me know that you are doing this, so I know whether to do more of these. I'm definitely not going to do them every time, but sometimes I will. So now I'm running back on this rail trail. There's a little wind, so I hope it's not noisy. But yeah, I'm heading back. I'm going to go soon towards where we did, I would say, the largest percentage of our hard workouts. Now around here, there's a small strip, probably a loop of about 1.5 miles, maybe 1.75 miles, where it's an industrial plant. There's all kinds of semis, kinds of businesses, and we would run there because in the winter it was the only place where you could see the road. Everywhere else, sidewalks, everything was covered in either a thin layer of snow or ice or a thick layer. But we knew that this industrial plant would be clear. So we would come here and do workouts like 3 or 4 by 1.5 miles, or like 6 by 1 mile, just all kinds of things, tempo runs, and yeah, a lot of hard efforts put in here. I'm also seeing a grill that I went in a few times to go to the bathroom. I don't think I ever did it in college though. I think it was more after. So now I'm heading back away from that and heading back towards where my in-laws live. I might come and run on that. In fact, I'm sure I will come and run on that industrial park sometime soon. Just memories coming back. I'm coming up in a minute to a pancake house, tiny little place, like maybe seats 25, probably more like 20. And we would drive over to this place we call Clear Lake, or maybe it is called Clear Lake, I don't know, to do our long runs on a weekend. It'd be like 12 for the middle distance runners, like 800 meter runners, to I would do 17, 18, even 19 miles. And then we would come back and try and get in this restaurant. A lot of the time they'd probably be like, no, not them again, because there's so many of us filling up the restaurant. But they had such good pancakes. I used to love their raspberry and white chocolate pancakes they had there. Probably still do. It was more of a make your own pancake, and that's what I put in mine. I loved it. So it's very special memories there. I also had a lot of like celebration memories with friends and people important to me. It's one of the places we'd go out for a meal. And then going up this slight hill, going over this bridge to head back towards the house today. But usually it would be, or in the past it was mostly heading back towards the school, the university, which was up a hill. There was no way around it, which really was horrible. after, pushing yourself so hard. And by the way, when I said earlier about pushing myself too hard, that was another mistake I had during my college years, was I would push myself so hard that I fell to the ground in exhaustion after my workouts. And now I know that was really unnecessary and maybe even held me back in some of my races because it was so straining on my body. So I do think about that a lot now. But yeah, it made these cool downs uphill not exactly fun. What about you? Would you ever say you've gone through a phase where you've pushed too far? We talked about most challenging race in a previous Together run. But what about in your workouts? Have you gone through phases where you've done that? Just overdone it? Maybe felt that same thing I did, that you needed to, a workout meant pushing to the absolute max. I'm now coming back up to those soccer fields and seeing another strip we would find to do some hard stuff. It's funny because it's mostly what I have my memories here are on these roads of hard workouts or snow somehow making it challenging for us to do things. We had so much snow here. I mean, you didn't really see the sidewalk for 4 months of the year. And that was challenging. I loved it the first few years. Then it just really I struggled. By my 5th year, I despised the winter and snow. But it's funny how Steve was able to find just literally like any little strip that had a good chance of being salted. Or it wasn't even in the winter. Like the place I said we did our long runs, he found this place, made it into this loop. And it's a pretty cool place to train. It was dirt, so we were getting our legs off the cement a bit more. Steve just was so good at finding the optimal places to work out in a place that really didn't have many optimal places to work out. Like, he was able to just find the needle in a haystack and make the most of it. And the other schools were so just in awe of what he was able to do, what we were able to do with so little. At least in the winter. Especially we didn't have an indoor or anything. We didn't even have a locker room. We were just scrappy. And I kind of like it that way. So we're into our final few minutes now. Let's just do one more body scan. Scan down through your body. See how you feel. Pay attention. But try not to judge. Just notice. We'll do that together now. right. Great job, friends. What do you notice physically? Anything bothering you that wasn't before? Or things that were bothering you at the beginning, now feeling much better? For me, the inside ankle-y area is a little bit stiff, my left side, and I do just feel pretty tired actually, just heavy. And then emotionally feeling refreshed, heart rate up from a dog jumping, but thankfully behind a fence. Had totally lost shook me out of the feelings I was in into fear. So yeah, we're coming into our last minute now, and then we can call this a run. Remember to let me know when you send me a picture of you doing this run. Let me know if you are a 60-minute person, because that really helps me to know whether to do these again or whether to just cut it at 45. And I won't, as I said, I'm not going to do 60 minutes every time, but I might do it sometimes for you. I'm coming up to finish. We're going to be done before I get to it. It's a really steep hill coming up in a minute, just to my in-laws' house right at the top of it. So I'm kind of dreading it, but I might walk up it. Yeah, I think I will. All right, so I have us coming to a walk here. Ooh, thanks for saving me from that hill. Ooh. Friends, thank you for joining me today. I love doing this with you. I so love that I was able to share with you this special run with me. First time I've been here in 3 years. A place that is tied to so many memories. And it's just nice to be able to experience it with you. So I appreciate you for that. I want to encourage you, check out Beam TLC, or if you can't, can you please go leave a review on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Really appreciate those. Helps get me discovered. Go check out Running Realised if you haven't already. There's an episode on sustainable races, which I'm really proud of. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for joining me, friends. Before we end this episode, I just want to take a moment to shout out my podcast editor, Jeremy Nessel, who has done such a wonderful job of looking after my podcast, taking out all the mishaps in the episodes, while still keeping in the vulnerability and the realness and the rawness of the conversation. This is not one of those podcasts where I take out the ums and the ers and the sometimes the delay in words, because I think it's very important to keep that authenticity. We're surrounded by perfected and manicured everything, and I think it's really important that Running for Real stays that way. So thank you to Jeremy for your work. I also want to thank Maria Vargas and Amber Moore, who are also part of my team. They've been a big part of this community and me being able to build this brand. So just want to give them a shout out too. All right, let's get right back to the end of this episode. Thank you so much for joining me today. What did you think of that? It was kind of an emotional run for me. So I'd be interested to hear what you think about that, having it be a little different to usual and a little more random, but more memory filled. So be interested to hear your thoughts there. Be sure to go check out Beam today. You can go to beamtlc.com and use code TINA for 15% off. I am loving Beam, and I believe you will too. Go check it out. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you on Friday.